Hey, I'm John Greaves III. I'm the founder of Garage Gym Life. Appreciate you guys stepping by my channel today. If this is your first time or if you haven't subscribed yet, please do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 20,000 followers, and I really appreciate every one of you who are helping me get closer to my goal. Today, my guest is Melvin James. Melvin is someone I discovered on Instagram. He posts under the handle @FlipModeNight. And if you don't follow him, I really encourage you to. But you guys are about to see why I immediately wanted to check him out, because Melvin trains primarily with kettlebells, and you can see the results on this dude. Plus, he's got a pretty nice oversized comic book collection. I'm going to figure out some way to slide that into the conversation. Melvin, thanks for joining me here today.
Hey, John, thanks for having me.
I think that your story is important because a lot of times people believe that you have to have a lot of fancy equipment. You got to have a lot of machines. You got to have a lot of stuff in order to get good results. And from what I can tell, you are achieving your results with primarily kettlebells. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
How many kettlebells do you have?
Eight kettlebells.
Okay.
Total. I have a mixture of singles and pairs, ranging from 8 kgs to 40 kg. My reason for getting like the 8 kg was to kind of like learn. That's when I first like got into like kettlebell training. So I got that to kind of learn like clean snatches, those things.
Which ones do you have pairs of?
The first pair I got was the 25 kg. I actually got it from a client during COVID. So the 25 kg and the 32 kg, and then I got the 40 kg later on once I got better for like bench presses, deadlifts, rows,
Gotcha.
those kind of movements.
What was it that got you into the bench press?
So I tried to bench presses before. I saw people online doing like bench presses and like, that's impressive. Like, and to me in my head, I was like, looks kind of easy because before I got into kettlebell training, I was doing sled pulls and stuff like that, gym stuff, like heavy pulls, and started doing like kettlebell training when COVID happened. And I saw people doing bench presses. I'm like, looks simple enough, right? Rotate, hinge at the hips, try not to press the weight. But I was struggling with 25 kg, which is
shoot, you're better than I was. Well, okay, now I'll grant you, I started with a bar. I didn't start out. I think most people start out bench pressing with a kettlebell, and I didn't start out with that. I started out with a bar because I actually saw a guy named James Fuller doing it, and he was doing it with a barbell, and it just tripped me out. I think he had at the time like 135 pounds, something like that, on a bar. Just the idea that somebody could lift that much weight with one hand, twisted like that, was crazy to me. Now I've seen other people do it, but that immediately became my goal. So in my head, I'm like, oh, you got to do it with a bar, right? That's not true. You can bench press anything. I know a dude who bench pressed a motorcycle. Okay, so you can bench press anything. Right? But what's intriguing to me is the normal reaction when somebody sees a bench press is typically to be afraid. You know what I mean? Like immediately say, oh, you're going to hurt your back. Your reaction was, oh, I know I can do that. Let me try it. How have you been able to get past that fear response that gym culture has kind of like ingrained in our psyche?
What's interesting is like, I had that same mentality before I actually got into kettlebell training. So I had that same thinking, but once I got into kettlebell training and started like implementing like the windmills, the bench presses, the rotational work, because a lot of people get scared of rotational work because they're like, oh, you're twisting, you're turning, you're rotating. The lower back's not supposed to do that. You're gonna hurt the lower back. So I mean, it's one of those things. Back to your question, like I got into bench presses because I actually injured my shoulder, right? My left shoulder. So I couldn't press anything over my head. But then I realized, like, I started messing with bench presses, like 16 kg and whatnot. And I realized that if I did it correctly, engage the lats, have the triceps against the lats, rotate with the hips, and not press it, hinge,
right.
I felt no pain. I got stronger,
right.
So that's what got me more into like the bench presses, like getting injured and kind of like trying
Right.
like different things. Like even though I was injured, I really don't shy away from things. I
You figured
find
out a way to
ways to
train
like
around it. Yeah.
I find ways to trade around
Right.
the injury. Like, okay, like what happened that, got me to this point? What was I not doing?
Right.
You know, that got me to this point. Um, so that's how I got to bench presses, and that's how I got to actually learn to love bench presses.
It's funny that you said people say, and I believe you, but it's funny that you said people say the spine is not supposed to rotate. And my immediate thought was, well, how do you get stuff out of the back seat of the car if you're driving? If your spine isn't designed to do that, how do you do that? Like, you know what I mean? If you're standing in line and somebody calls your name, what do?
Turn your whole body.
So the one of the most impactful things for me, and actually this was James Fuller who said it. He said, if your body is designed to move in a certain direction, you should probably strengthen it in that direction. That stuck with me. And then I remember a quote from Mark H. Berry. He was the first US men's Olympic lifting coach. And he said a trained athlete should be able to move with complete freedom in any direction at any time. Whereas we tend to feel like we need to sacrifice something for the sake of our chosen sport slash hobby slash pastime. It's like you're giving up something in order to be great at it. And I can understand that too. I can understand that you're going to have certain things that you have to do repetitively. A basketball player is going to jump a lot. He's probably going to have some sort of knee issue because he's jumping a lot. I don't care how much mobility work you do for your feet and mobile ankles. You're that big, you're that long, you're jumping all the time on that surface, landing on other people. Eventually your knee's going to be like, hey, we don't want to do this anymore. But I'm just saying the idea that you're an athlete, but and that means you have restrictions, is just a foreign concept. It just shows me how far we've kind of devolved. You know what I mean? Were you already training at home during the lockdown?
That's when I started training at home. It was different, because in the past I tried to train at home, but like I had dumbbells and stuff like that. But it was just a thing that, like I was at the gym and I just had like all that equipment available before, just like you had like no other choice.
Right.
When you was at home, and it was an interesting time, because like I had dumbbells,
Yeah.
you know, I had like dumbbells, had resistance bands,
Right.
I had sandbags, so I had stuff that I needed to like keep going, but then it came to a point where like I was limited. Like I felt limited, like probably just in my head, I felt limited, but I was doing a lot of body weight stuff and whatnot. And then I started like, seeing people online doing like kettlebells. And I thought to myself, this is the perfect opportunity to learn how to use kettlebells.
Right.
So I went online and I tried looking for kettlebells to purchase them,
Yeah, that was an adventure, I'm sure. Yeah.
It was like, there was nothing, I probably got something from Marshall's, a little 15-pound, plastic thing, did like a little something, but, it wasn't a real thing until I got like my 25 kg, which is, in a kettlebell world, that's a big step, for people that has never, trained with kettlebells, and you don't realize that until, you start training with it. But, my ego was in the way when I first started training with, kettlebells. I seen everyone do these movements, they're doing goblet holds with lateral lunges. I'm like, I can do that, And no, it wasn't easy because I just wasn't like trained in that fashion, like moving like laterally, moving in a rotational fashion. It was just forward and back. That's all I knew. I was strong going forward and backwards, But it was one of those things that like I realized I needed to work on it.
Yeah.
Like really and truly, I was like, I'm gonna learn how to use this. I'm gonna learn how to do rotational movements, how to do lateral movements, how to make this feel better.
Like kettlebells they're similar and they're different, because like you could do stuff with just one dumbbell. You could do stuff with just the barbell. I think a kettlebell is so versatile because although it's heavy, if you have like a 40 kilogram, that's heavy, but you can still transport it with you. You're going on vacation, figure out, and they even have videos on how to safely transport your kettlebells, but you can pretty much tie it up, stick it in the trunk or whatever, wedge it in, take it with you everywhere, go out in the woods, camping, take the kettlebell with you. You never have to skip training. Whereas with most of our other training implements, you either aren't going to get a good training response if you have just that. So like if I went to what I have now to just bands for a week, I'll go crazy because eventually I'm going to get bored with just using this band because I'm going to feel like I'm not working hard enough. And I'm not saying that you can't wear yourself out with bands, but to me, I would be making myself tired, not making myself better, right? And so for me, that's a no-go because I function best when I have a goal, and I don't have any, and I mean none. I have 0 training goals related to resistance bands. I'm not like, oh wow, one day I'll be able to use the red. No, I don't care. I have 0, I don't care, right? But I can say, like with a kettlebell, I can say if I'm stuck in a situation where I only have a kettlebell, all right, I've got goals related to the kettlebell. We're working on this now. I've done the Dan John 10,000 swing challenge. That was life-changing. And I'm good. I don't need to do it again. All right. I'd already told you, like the whole the bench press thing. I've gotten to the point where I can bench press my 48. I mean, even if I didn't do it for like 2-3 months, I could just pick it up and do it, right? So now my goal is the 2 hands anyhow. So if I were in a situation where I just had a kettlebell, and I'm in a hotel room, all right, I'm probably gonna do 2 hands anyhow with the kettlebell and the chair, or just something, what I mean? Because that's what I mean. Like kettlebells allow you to stay creative, if that makes sense. So is that how you're able to stay motivated in your training, even though you're only using kettlebells, from what I can tell?
Yeah, I mean, like kettlebells is so like versatile. But it all depends on like the person too.
Yeah,
Who's who's actually like using the tool. You
right.
have people that use kettlebells that they just kind of stick to the basics. Your swing, your
Yeah.
get ups, cleans, snatches, and whatnot. Really
You're like the hard
found
style
found
people.
the hard style
Yeah.
people that found the fundamental movements.
Yeah.
Basically. And like for me, like when I started out, that's what I saw. But in a sense, like I was looking for more.
Right.
It's like I was like what else can you do with this? Can we like combine some movements
Yeah.
together? Let's do like a deadlift into a row. Like what can we do? To because it's just one of those things is like how do you like progress? How do you keep it like spicy?
Right. Right.
Because I mean, there's nothing written in stone, right?
Yeah.
You have people that say like this is the way, but it's like, who said
Those are
that has to be the,
Mandalorians.
This is the way.
This is the way.
you know? I have to watch that, by the way. I missed I have to catch up on
You
the
haven't
last
seen
episode.
any? Oh, okay. I'm
No,
about
the
to say, you
last.
haven't seen
Yeah, I'm the last one from yesterday.
the one
Yesterday
from
was
Wednesday. Yeah,
Wednesday.
because it's Thursday. Yeah.
Yeah, so I
All
got.
right. I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but
Now I'm gonna watch it today.
I tell you what, and when you watch it, hit me up on Instagram and let me know what you thought of it. Because
Okay.
okay, I'm not gonna spoil it, but I
Makes
liked it.
makes
I liked it.
okay. Okay. I
I saw
love
some stuff that
Mando.
I saw some things I didn't expect to see. Let's put it like that.
Okay.
I was like,
Okay.
oh, okay, yeah,
Okay. I'll let you know.
all right, yeah. And don't none of y'all post in the comments to spoil. Okay, boy, by the time you guys see this, it would have passed anyway. But still, don't spoil it in the comments. But you can tell me if you all liked it as well. Mandalorian, it's episode 20. Let me know in the comments if you all liked Mandalorian episode 20. That'll show if you guys are paying attention. Yeah, so you said that, like, people are saying like this is the only way. And I find that there is some dogma in kettlebell training. Like you do have the people who are like the Russian, the hard style. And some of that is relaxing a little bit because I remember when there was a huge debate of how high the kettlebell should come when you do a kettlebell swing. That, there are people who believe like I couldn't even believe it even had names. There's the American swing, it goes all the way up in the air. Then there's the Russian or the hard style, it only goes up to essentially eye level. And I was like, and I see the argument on both sides, that the Americans are like, well, your arms go up that way. Why would you stop artificially? You know, I can see that. And then I also see the Russian style people saying, well, you're losing tension. So, it's okay, whatever, that's fine. But I think some of that's relaxing a little bit because I see more people crossing over from the sport side to the, what we say, the hard style side, and back and forth. And so if you're going to train both, you can't be dogmatic about it. What though do you see, since you're more embedded in it than I am, what about the people who do the tricks and the things? Like, I see people kicking kettlebells now, right? What's the general feeling about those people? That sounded so mean the way I said it, those people. I don't mean it like that. I mean like the people who enjoy doing that.
Like they're like those people.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, the funny thing, I don't discriminate against, like, the different styles of kettlebells. Like, I don't do it in particular from how you've seen like me train, but the thing is,
Right.
like, I've seen people flip kettlebells and stuff like that. And I've tried it before,
Right.
because I'm just one of those people. I'll try something. I just won't say on the side, oh, that's like, why are you guys even doing it? I would try it just to see how it feels. I'm like, oh, I can see like why, they're doing it. Like,
You live in an apartment?
yeah, on the third floor.
That explains why you don't do flips.
That is why I do not do flips, and that's why you don't see me doing a lot like tactical clean.
So for anybody who's watching this who doesn't know what a tactical clean is, and they're like, now I'm gonna stop you guys from having to Google it. Basically, it's just you're coming up, you switch hands. So the kettlebell leaves one hand, it goes to the other hand. So in the air, as it's moving, you're letting go. It's in the air for a second, and you grab it with the other hand. And he's on the third floor, so yeah. Landlord, neighbors, yeah. All right.
Well, I do tactical cleans once in a while, but it's like I have to be on point. So it's just one of those things that it messes with me mentally, because I'm thinking like, oh, like, I know, like, I've done it in the gym before. Like, I'll switch like nothing. I'll do tactical cleans, tactical snatches, and back to the thing is, like, it just depends on what your goal is. I always go back to that. Like, what are you training for? Like, do you just like doing things, new, different? Do you like to keep it, fresh? And like, I do a little bit of everything. I do the foundational movements. I do swings, deadlifts, goblet squats, snatches. I do all that stuff. And then, but you have to learn, that stuff before you start getting fancy. Right.
That's actually a really good point, because my pastor actually, he had a really good phrase 2 weeks ago. He said people always want to go deep, but they don't know how to swim yet. I was like, I like that. It's like, we don't like to do the basic stuff. We want to hurry up ahead to the, we want to go from white belt to black belt. We don't want to do we don't want to go to green belt and all this. We don't want to do that. How do you structure your training?
So someone that used to see me train before, they used to call my training organized chaos.
Okay.
So basically, I know what I'm going to do, but I don't really plan for it.
Okay.
That makes sense. So I know in my head what I'm going to do. So usually my sessions consist of a squat, deadlift, hinge, a pull movement, push.
So the fundamental human movements.
The fundamental human
push, pull, hinge, carry.
And got rotational movements. Yeah. So that's usually what my sessions consist of, right? And usually I have a pretty good idea in my head what I'm going to do. So I do think about it, but what I'm going to do, I do put it together. But then sometimes things don't go the way I would like to, but I still stick to those movements, right? If I'm going to do a bent press and something doesn't really drop, like, feel right, I'll probably do a windmill, right? Windmill,
so you just go lighter into a windmill.
Lighter, and I still do a rotation movement. If it's not going to be a windmill, I'll do a halo.
Okay. Okay.
So I still like stick to whatever that is. I just change like the exercise
Okay.
itself.
And how often do you train?
5 days a week.
Okay.
It's always full body. And I will always vary the intensity. So it's not like heavy
Right.
all the time. You know, if I'm not feeling it, I'll do maybe like a mobility session, right? Well, I'll use like the 16 kg. Still not easy, you
Right.
know, because it's, you know, doing lunges, going into like a windmill and whatnot. Still like, so the glutes are working, core is working, and feet are working a lot. So like I vary the intensity just depending on like on how I'm feeling.
Because you are able to do a lot of things with it, do you train your clients with it? Or do you kind of say, depending on where you train them, you kind of look at what the available tools are and say, okay, we're going to put together a program based upon your goals and what tools we have available? Or do you say, hey, look, I'm just telling you right now, I think that kettlebells, based on what you're asking me to do for you and help you do for yourself, I think that kettlebells are going to be the most efficient way to get there?
I would look at a person's goal. So let's say that someone, they can't do like a overhead press with a kettlebell, right? Because they can't get the rack position and whatnot. It feels awkward in the wrist. And so I was like, okay, so we're gonna use a dumbbell.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Still overhead press, but we're gonna learn how to like get up, use clean, you know, the kettlebell, make it feel less awkward and whatnot. So like I won't completely get away from it.
Okay.
But if your goal is to get stronger and like doing an overhead press, I'm not gonna stick with the kettlebell, right? Because in the end, it's about, you know, it's about the person. It's about their goals. It's not about like what I want. You know, I would like for you to be able to do like, you know, an overhead press with a kettlebell, but if they're not like comfortable with the tool yet, why would I push it on them? Because that's just gonna, you know, make them back away more. They're not gonna want to use it. So like for me, that's why I always like looked at is the goals of the individual. What tool is gonna get them to that goal? Like I try to find a way to make people like feel comfortable. And that's my thing with kettlebells too. It's just like getting people comfortable with them, you know, and giving them like just like lots of different variations and whatnot online, because not every exercise is going to fit one person.
I started looking at your Instagram because it's, you know, basically I was looking for stuff for my motivational feed that I do on Instagram, and I stumbled across your feed. And so I really like the things that you put on there. And I want other people to be inspired by you as well. So you mentioned that you have clients. So if somebody wants to get in touch with you for training, or if they just have a question, or they just want to see pictures of you with no shirt on doing kettlebell work in front of an Iron Man poster, you know, whatever your motivation is, how can somebody follow you on social media or get in contact with you?
So you can get in contact with me on IG at Split Mode Night, or you can get in touch with me with my email is Melvin K. James Jr. at gmail.com.